Welcome to the channel and welcome to this review of Codex Space Marines. Lovely picture on the front cover of the Primaris on the back. We have a Rebooty Guilliman and lots of Primaris Space Marines. The new Librarian as an yet unreleased model, an Apothecary there, Primaris Apothecary. Some of the old school models, Devastators in the backfield there. But yeah, this is what it looks like, and it is a chunking, big, hardback book. If we lie it side by side to the main rulebook, you can see just how big it is. It's definitely the thickest Space Marine Codex they've released so far. Right, let's dive into this. We're going to have a look at some of the fluff at the beginning and go back through and have a look at the stat sheets and some of the things that you can find in here. This review is not necessarily for brand new players. It's going to be set out. I'm going to start talking as though you have some idea about Space Marines and you may have collected these before or some prior knowledge of playing the game. One thing I can say is Relics are back. Chapter Tactics are back, and some other special rules are back. Also, the new Redemptor Dreadnought is in here and the points values, and the Repulsor tank is in here and the points values. If you want to get the Repulsor and the Redemptor and just play them using the power levels, you can do that because the data sheets for those models will be in the box set that you buy. But if you want to play them in max play, you need this book because it's got the points in it. So a lot of the flavor that we were previously missing when the indexes were released is back. I like this book. I've read it through twice now. Skimmed over it the first time and then dived into it in some detail the second time, and it feels good to be back, guys. It was good to have all the tools and all that flavor that we were previously missing. It talks about, this is a book as well for all the first founding chapters. Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Grey Knights and Dark Angels are not included in this book. So as you can see, it starts off with all the narrative that you would come to expect. The making of a Space Marine, some additional notes on Primaris Space Marines here. Here's all the glands and all the implants that normal Space Marines have. And this is the extra stuff that Primaris Space Marines have, including steel woven into their muscles and some sort of health kit right next to their heart. So that's what this looks like. And all the normal stuff with the Codex heraldry, and it jumps straight into the narrative, going from the Age of Strife and the Great Crusade down to where are we? The Great Rift, a new breed, Guilliman Awakening here, the Great Rift, the Primaris and the Indomitus Crusade, and the Shield of the Shrine Worlds. Some hints that World Bearers and Lorgar, the Sons of Lorgar, may be coming to the channel sometime next year, I would guess. And some more narrative on the Indomitus Crusade, and then it goes into the chapters. So we have Ultramarines, and some history of the Ultramarines, Successor Chapters, some of this new airbrush, some of this computer-aided design, colouring of these Successor Chapters looks really cool. I like what they've done here. Beforehand it was a simple stamp of colour of blue or white, but now it's got that shine to it. White Scars, and the Khan is missing without a trace. Went off on a great hunt. We don't know where he is. The Khan may be coming back at some point. Some history for the White Scars and Successor Chapters, Imperial Fists, and of course Crimson Fists, and of course Black Templars, which are all Successor Chapters, second founding chapters of the Imperial Fists. Salamanders, one of the legions that refused to break down to chapter strength. Salamanders are still at chapter strength, still very strong, very powerful, and perhaps the only good guys in the Warhammer 40k universe. These guys are actually quite friendly, hanging out with civilians when they are not on duty. There are no official Successor Chapters of the Salamanders, but it does talk about it here, saying that there are probably some Legends of Nocturne, the Promethean Cult, Raven Guard. Of course, Salamanders didn't break down into chapter strength, but neither did the Space Wolves. Layman Russ turned around to Rupert Guilliman after the Great Crusade, after the Horus Heresy, and said, "No, sod you, I'm staying at Legion strength, the great companies." And you're not really going to argue with Layman Russ, are you? Raven Guard, and their history and Successor Chapters, Iron Hands, and their history, and we know what happened to their Primarch, don't we? And their Successor Chapters, Unknown Foundings, and then we're into the meat and potatoes. It talks about each individual units, and this is broken down slightly differently. Commanders, for example, Chapter Masters, Captains, Lieutenants. Chapter Masters are not in this book. If you want to become a Chapter Master, if you want your Captain to be a Chapter Master, it costs 3 command points to buy a new stratagem, and that stratagem will allow you... Currently, captains allow you to reroll hit rolls of 1. You spend 3 command points, you can only have 1 chapter master per chapter per army, and then you get a reroll to hit everything within 6 inches around your chapter master. But it's a command point upgrade. It doesn't cost any points. Chaplains, Apothecaries, Chapter Command, Honor Guard, Chapter Ancient, Chapter Champion, Company Veterans, Ancients, Champions. So it's broken down slightly differently. Previously it would say Captain and then Veteran, Stern Guard, but this time it does it this way. A good example of this is the Battle 9 squads, Intercessor squads, Tactical squads, Close Support squads, Inceptors, Reavers, Assault squads, Centurion assault squads. These are all close support squads. More close support squads, Bikers, Attack Bikes, Land Speeder Storms. So it breaks down the army, how the army functions. You have commands, you have various close support squads. Then you have fire support squads, the Hellblasters, the Aggressors. Aggressors are a new line of miniatures coming soon from Games Workshop. And more fire support squads, Devastators, Centurion, Devastators, Dreadnoughts, Venerable, Ironclad, Contemptor. The new Redemptor is in here, the new big bad boy. That's how that's broken down. Scout squads, Scout Bike squads, Tech Marines, Servitors, Thunderfire cannons, transport vehicles, Repulsors. The new tank is a dedicated transport. It is a very expensive dedicated transport with the fly keyword, but it is a dedicated transport, so you don't have to spend precious slots, heavy slots, or elite slots filling it up. It's a dedicated transport. You can get 5 units of 5 scouts and get 5 repulsors on the table if you want to. Perhaps not the best way to do it. Maybe 5 units of 5 dreadnoughts, all with twin autocannons, and then these guys, battle tanks, Land Raiders. Anatomy of a Land Raider come out of the original Imperial Armour 2 book. It's still a good picture, so stick it in here. Land Raider, Crusaders, that's the original one, not the updated one. Crusaders, Redeemers, gunships. Lots of different gunships available now. Before 6th edition, no gunships. Now we have 3. And then the name characters. The big G himself, the Primarch. The only Primarch currently running around in 40k that's still a good guy, that still hasn't turned to chaos. Calgar, Tigarius. These are all the models that all the named characters that you can buy the model for from Games Workshop have got their own narrative section here, including Crusader squads that nod to Black Templars. Black Templars, again, in 7th, they were molded into the same codex, the first founding codex. Let's call this the first founding Codex, even though it's... Okay, let's call this the Codex that hasn't got Space Wolves, Blood Angels, Dark Angels and Grey Knights in it. And they were previously had their own Codex, but now they're part of this book here. And then we get into the Citadel Miniatures range, and here you can see some of the new minis that are available. These are all elites, HQs, so Captain, Librarius, Chaplain and Apothecary. These are all Primaris Marines that you will be able to get from Games Workshop. I like him a lot. Primaris Marines, Death Guard in the foreground. And then fortunately for us, to save us having to dive into it, they show us all the new miniatures in the first couple of pages. So I've mentioned that the Repulsor tank is a dedicated transport slot, and it looks mean. I want 3 of them. You got twin link las cannons. I think it comes standard with twin link heavy bolters or a different kind of gun at the start. Hurricane, Gatling cannon, or this. Icarus array, rear-facing Icarus array, other anti-flyer weaponry. So he's a dedicated. This guy, I believe, is an elite choice. Hang about, let me check. Yeah, there's the Redemptor in the elite section. And this is what it looks like with the sarcophagus cover open. And you've got the big Gatling cannon or the macro plasma destroyer, I believe it's called. So 2 new vehicle models there. And then here we have troops, fast attack, elites, and heavy. New models and more troops with the scouts. So the troops are the intercessors, a variety of bolt rifles, including auto bolt rifles, so different ways to load them out. In the fast attack slot, you have the Inceptor squad with plasma exterminators. These squads come in 3 to 6, and you can either give them all plasmas or all of the assault bolter guns. Then in the elite slot, the Ultramarines aggressors. They come in 2 flavors, these with the launchers, the missile launchers on the back and the guns, or you can swap them out for no missile launchers and just flamers. But 2 heavy flamers, so 2 auto D6 hits, 2 auto D6 hits, 2 auto D6 hits at heavy flamers, nice. And these guys can, I think they can always shoot even if they advance, so they're going to be going forward, running and shooting at the same time, and they're in Gravis pattern armor, so it makes them toughness 5. And then we have the Reavers, new scouts with their grav shoots and bolt carbines. Grav shoots allow them to deep strike in, and they come with bolt carbines here. And then the Hell Blasters with heavy plasma incinerators, different flavors of plasma on the Hell Blasters. The interesting thing to note is in this new Space Marine Codex, they've given you new troops, new HQs, and at least one of every slot. They've given you a heavy, fast, elite, and dedicated transport. And there's 2 elite slots. These aggressors are elites, as well as the Redemptor Dreadnought. So that's some of the new hotness we can be expecting to see on the tabletop very soon. And the fact that they're giving you one of every single slot means if you want to build a Primaris only Space Marine army, you can. I can't remember the last time Games Workshop released so many new miniatures with one codex. The last Space Marine Codex had some flyers in it. The one before that, I don't know what it had, but typically they release 1 or 2 new models, and that's it. 1 or 2 new sprues, 1 or 2 new box sets, 2 or 3 perhaps, but in this case we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the elites. If you want to add them all up separately, that's 9, 10, 11 new things that you can get from Games Workshop and build your force of Primaris Marines. And then it does the usual thing. It will show you white scars, heavily featuring bikes, because the white scars are all about the bikes, and chapter tactics are back. White scars are mean. Imperial Fists, Primaris Marines heavily featured. Crimson Fists and the Black Templars, who, let's face it, are Imperial Fist wannabes. I'm going to get flamed for that one. Salamanders, the good guys. Look how big the Redemptor is next to this other Dreadnought. I know he's a little bit further forward, but seriously, he's a wide load. Who are these guys? Yeah, okay. I can't really see who they are. They're dark and blurring to the shadows. It must be the Raven Guard. And the Iron Hands. Where's your Primarch? Gather the Emperor's finest. And showing you how to get together a strike force, showing you what it looks like. And it's interesting that Games Workshop thinks there should be a liberal sprinkling of old and new miniatures. So we have Primaris, the new tank, the new Dreadnought, but also tactical squads, and also the Reavers are in here. In the background, we've got a land speeder over here. So Games Workshop itself thinks that you should mix and match these minis, or would like you to, or the narrative they're saying suggests that there should be a mix of both types of Marines. Defenders of Mankind. So now we're going to jump into the rules section. And it talks about keywords, it talks about chapters. It says that when you nominate an army, you've got to select a chapter, and that your chapter it will either be from that chapter or will be a successor of that chapter. So if an Adeptus Astartes datasheet does not specify which chapter it's drawn from, it will have a chapter keyword, and you must nominate which chapter that is from. And then it also mentions Blood Angels, Grey Knights, all of those will be getting their own codexes at some point. Sorry about the paint on the finger. And the Lost Libraris, it mentions that you cannot take Psychers with Black Templars. And then we have some new abilities in here. Well, and they shall know no fear. But where's the new one? Oh, it's at the back. Let's jump to that now. Let's jump to the stuff at the back before we look at these, because we're familiar with these. I will revisit some of the datasheets, don't worry, but after you've got past the datasheets and Rubuti Gulliman, the big RG, you've got all these. Look at the armory of the Space Marines now. This is incredible. Do you remember when it used to be on just one page? All the weaponry used to just be on one page. Now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, and the special stuff down here like the Grapnel launcher and grab shoots. Grab shoots allow your Reavers to drop in 9 inches away. Grapnel launchers allow you to ignore vertical movement up behind buildings, so your units can move along and then they can go up an unlimited number of vertical spaces. All the grapnel launchers on the Reavers allow you to essentially outflank, set up within 6 inches of a battlefield edge of your choice, more than 9 inches away from enemy models. That could essentially be the battlefield over there. You could come in behind your enemy. It says the battlefield edge of your choice. So outflanking plus there. I like it. Anyway, once you get past all of these things, that's available to the Reavers. When you get to all the things, you get to Sons of the Primarchs. It talks about Space Marine units, abilities, and Defenders of Humanity. It does specify that Space Wolves, Blood Angels, other Space Marine chapters deviate significantly in terms of organisation, so don't benefit from this. But Defenders of Humanity, if your unit is Battleforged, if your army is Battleforged, all troops have objective secured. All troops, regardless of, you can have 20 enemy models on an objective, and you have 1 troop on that objective, you will score that objective. It's big, it's good. It's not as big as having everything in your army being able to score that objective, and it specifies troops and troop slots only. But it certainly gives you a reason to take troops along in a Maelstrom game. And we know how powerful Objectives Secured is from previous editions. It's now called Defenders of Humanity, but you know how important it is sometimes to get a couple of guys onto an objective, regardless of the number of enemy models there. And in the first battle report I played with the new codex, it did help me. I did score an objective when there was 5 or 6 enemy models on there, and I moved up with 2 Space Marines and scored that objectives. And then we have chapter tactics are back. A lot of these chapter tactics have already been leaked over the internet so far, but chapter tactics only affect those with the infantry, biker, and dreadnought keyword. Infantry, biker, and dreadnought. So it's very, very clear. And this is what they do. Ultramarines can shoot when they fall back, but it's -1 to hit. So they're locked up in combat, they back away, they shoot, -1 to hit. This is one of the most powerful ones. They also have +1 to their leadership. White Scars are also very interesting as well, because they always add 2 inches when they advance. So bikes move 14, plus an additional 8 inches. It specifies it here when they advance. So, and they can still charge in the turn when they fall back. So technically a White Scars biker unit, instead of, will move 14 plus the 8, that's 22 inches up the table. And there is a stratagem that you can take which allows you to charge after advancing. Bear in mind you can only play one of each stratagem once per player turn, so you can't move, advance, and charge with more than 1 unit. You can't do it with this unit, this unit, this unit. But charging after moving 22 inches, That is incredibly powerful, and this is available to biker units. So you load up your White Scars bikerly units with your shields, with your veterans, and go whoosh up the table. You're looking at assaulting something 30 inches away. First turn charges are on, and hit and run is back. They can charge after they fall back. So they get they charge into combat, do some smashing, you hit them back in, and then in your turn you can fall back and recharge back into that combat. It does state that you can charge in the turn when they fall back, but it doesn't state that they can shoot in the turn when they fall back. So they'll break from combat. They don't have the fly keyword, so they won't be able to shoot, but they will be able to charge back in there. Another tactic that I really like is the Salamanders. I know the internet isn't quite keen of this one, but the Salamanders allow you to re-roll a single fail to hit roll and a single fail to room roll made for a Salamanders unit with this tactic each time it shoots or fights. Re-roll a hit, re-roll a wound for every infantry, biker and dreadnought that you have on the table. It doesn't seem powerful, but let's say you've got 2-3 dreadnoughts. Let's say you've got 5-6 infantry models on the table, some Terminators, some Devastators, some Centurions, some Primaris Marines. Every single one of your units, every turn, is going to pick one gun and re-roll a hit and re-roll a wound. Devastator is going to do that. Your dreadnoughts are going to do that. Doesn't sound like much, but that will add up over the course of the game. How many times have you guys spent a command point just to re-roll one hit dice of one dice, or re-roll one wound dice of just one dice? Imagine if you had that ability to do it once with every unit you have. I think when you look at it in compound terms, it adding up and adding up and adding up. It's good, and it's shoots or fights. Shoots or fights. Raven Guard, -1 to hit any Raven Guard units that's more than 12 inches away. You're shooting at the Raven Guard, you're hitting on 4s if you normally hit on 3s, or you're hitting on 5s if you're normally hitting on 4s. Again, that'll only affect infantry, biker and dreadnought stuff, but Devastators in the backfield for Raven Guard, you're always going to be hitting them on 4s unless you're more than 12 inches, unless you're within that 12-inch range. That will help Raven Guard become quite a nice shooty army with Devastators and Dreadnoughts, which isn't essentially what they do. They like to jump forward and smack you in the face with all their claws. But yeah, their long-range fire support, the Raven Guard long-range fire support, will become more resilient. Black Templars can re-roll charge range. Black Templars have fleet on the charge. They're angry. They want to get in there. And Iron Hands, it's back to what it was before. They essentially have a 6-up feel no pain. After you take a wound, roll a dice on a 6-up. You ignore that wound. That's, I think we expected that one. That's pretty standard. Unfortunately, Imperial Fist got the short end of the stick as far as I'm concerned. Basically, enemy units don't receive the benefit of saving throws or being in cover, and you can re-roll any fail to wound rolls for Imperial Fists if they're in a building. So cover's quite hard to come by in 8th edition, but if you're shooting at stuff in cover, then it doesn't. They ignore that. What does it do to Shroud's Arm though? Shroud's Arm isn't a unit in cover. It's +1 as though the AdMech are in cover. So I guess it wouldn't ignore Shroud's Arm. It might not avoid any other shenanigans like that aren't the straight up cover safe. But basically, they're better at shooting people in cover and buildings, which ain't great. There are bolter drill, there are command points that you can spend in the stratagems that you can use for Imperial Fists, which you'll see later. There's a lot of stratagems in this book. But +1 leadership and having the ability to shoot and fall back is strong. White Scars being able to charge after they being able to charge after they fall back is strong, and the stratagem that you can use for them is strong. Raven Guard and Salamanders, I believe, are strong, and Iron Hands is a nice crutch. Iron Hands, I tend to play a lot of Iron Hands on the channel, and the reason why I do it is because when you're filming and when you're talking through and narrating, it's sometimes difficult to remember every single little thing that's going on. I mean, you guys have watched many of my battle reports, or some of you have, I imagine, and you know the number of mistakes I made. So just giving stuff a 6-up is very simple, very easy to remember. I have to admit that I fall back on the Iron Hands crutch because it's just easier for me to do. When I'm out and about playing other people, I will tend to adopt different chapter tactics. But the flavour's back, people. Different ways of building and constructing your army and different things that the Space Marines can do. So I like it. Okay, so objective secured for troops, these guys here, and let's have a look at the stratagems. At the moment, or previously, we've got 3. Reroll a dice, interrupt assault phase, and ignore morale test. Do you want more than 3 stratagems? How about 3 pages of stratagems? 3 pages of stratagems that you can spend command points on. It's important. In here, we've got things like orbital bombardment, which is 3 command points to buy an orbital bombardment, and that's available to all Space Marines. But if you want to use, for example, where's the Born in the Saddle? You need to have the White Scars chapter to use Born in the Saddle. Born in the Saddle. Use this stratagem when White Scar biker units advances. That unit can still shoot and charge this turn, 1 command point. Biker unit moving 22 inches up the table, spending a command point, and can still shoot and charge for 1 command point. But only for those with the White Scars chapter tactics. We've got Bolter Drill for the Imperial Fists. Imperial Fist Bolter Drill. Each time you make a hit roll of 6 for a model firing a bolt weapon, you can immediately make another hit roll. And it includes any weapon with a bolt weapon, so bolt gun, bolt rifle, heavy bolter, bolt storm gauntlet, etc., etc. Pedro Cantor's Bolter Drill. 1 command point. They get better at shooting, and it's only available for Imperial Fists. 1 command point. Hellfire Shells. Say you've got a heavy bolter in your Devastator squad. You spend a command point, you roll to hit, and if you hit with that weapon, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds. So typically 3s to hit with a heavy bolter. Put the Signum on him, so he's hitting on a 2. Spend a command point, you hit on that 2, you don't even roll a wound. That thing that you're shooting out gets D3 mortal wounds. 1 command point. You could play it in your first turn of shooting, your second turn of shooting, your third turn of shooting, putting out D3 command points, D3 mortal wounds at 36-inch range, again and again and again. Have you got 3 Vindicators in your army? If you have 3 Vindicators in your army, Linebreaker Bombardment, instead of shooting all 3 Vindicators, pay a command point. Nominate a vehicle on the battlefield. Every unit within 3 inches of that point on the battlefield, you roll a dice. Add 1 to the result if the unit being rolled for has 10 or more models, but subtract 1 if the unit being rolled for is a character. Point on the battlefield, everything within 3 inches of that. On a 4-up, that unit suffers 3d3 mortal wounds. So you've got a couple of Imperial Knights. You nominate this point here, spend a command point. On a 4-up, that's 3d3 mortal wounds on him. And on a 4-up, that's 3d3 mortal wounds on him. 50-50 chance. So instead of shooting, they just dish out mortal wounds. There's 1 here for 3 Predators as well. You can add 1 to the wound rolls of damage for all Predators attacks against monsters or vehicles, spending a command point. That's if they're within 6 inches of 2 are the Predators. 3 Vindicators, 3 Predators. There's Relics in this book as well. Relics are here, and they are free. You just pick 1 and give it to a character. If you want more than 1 relic, it costs a command point. Then you can pick 2 and you get another relic. Or you spend 3 command points and you get plus 2 relics. So you'll have 3 relics, but it costs you command points to get extra relics. Otherwise, you just get 1. Here's the Chapter Master stratagem that we talked about earlier. 3 command points. You change 1 of your captains into a Chapter Master. Reroll all hit rolls within 6 inches of your Chapter Master. Doesn't cost any points. You just spend the command points. There's a couple of other, I won't go through every single one of these because Games Workshop will get mad with me. Spec Can is a nice one. 2 command points. If a unit deep strikes in or appears 12 inches away from your backline, typically, let's face it, most of them dropping in on your backline over here. Try and be 9 inches away because they want that charge right? You've got Devastators coming in, so Terminators coming in, you've got other stuff coming in 9 inches away from your backline. Well, if they land within 12, you can spend 2 command points and with Auspex Scan, shoot at them when they appear. Bam, you're dead. There's also some other nice stuff in here as well. Where are we? Tactical flexibility, mid-game. So you're mid-game, you've got a full 10-man squad of Terminators or a full 10-man squad of, say, Tactical Marines that have just jumped out of a Rhino or a Land Raider. Full 10-man squad. You want to shoot with some, but not assault. You want to assault. Basically, in the middle of a game for a command point, you can combat squad. You can split that 10-man squad into 2 5-man squads in mid-game, so long as you have a 10-man unit. Straight away split into 2 5-man units. That tactical flexibility. I don't know if that will be game-changing or game-breaking, but I like the idea of charging off with half of your guys and staying back and shooting with half of your guys. Let's face it, you've got all of these in your hands, ready to play at any time you want. And as we play more and more and more with this book, we're going to get used to dropping these when we want to, how we want to. We're going to know which works best for us. So lots of different stratagems that you can use if you're a Space Marine commander. And here's your Warlord traits. You can pick one or roll for them if you want. Unresolve is nice. It gives your character +1 wound and allows you to ignore that wound, any wounds caused on him on a 6-up. So previously the one in this book was you ignore wounds on a 6-up. Well, this one gives him +1 wound and ignores wounds on a 6-up. Space Marine Captain in Gravis armor will have 7 wounds if he has this one. Or Rights of War, if your captain's at the back with 2 units of Devastators, as that's the way you normally play him, well, everything within 6 inches of him will automatically pass morale tests. If you like a gunline army and occasionally your Space Marines have run away, get this one. That will prevent him running away. We've got specific Warlord traits for specific chapters. This is the way I read this. Tells me that you can only pull this one if you're Ultramarines, not a successor of Ultramarines. You can only pull this if you're White Scars, not a successor of White Scars. Until the internet tells me otherwise, I am not going to use these Warlord traits. I think this is Ultramarines only. Adept of the Codex. Whilst your Warlord is alive, roll a dice each time you spend a command point, and a 5+, that command point is refunded. Every 3 command points you spend, you're going to get 1 back. Say you've got a battalion detachment with 6 command points. Statistically, you can expect to get 2 of those command points back again and use 8 command points in a game, so long as your Warlord is still alive. I like it. Anyway, a bunch of new Warlord traits for you to pick from. And then we have the chapter Relics. And if your army is led by a Space Marines Warlord, you may give one of the chapter Relics to any Space Marine character in your army. Named characters such as Manius Calgar already have 1 or more artifacts and cannot be given any of the following relics. So you can't give these to named characters, but you can pick a character in your army and give them a relic. Just give them a relic. You want to give him the Shield Eternal. You want to give Sol Garrow, my captain, the Shield Eternal. It gives him a 3-up invulnerable save, and any damage dealt to the model with a Shield Eternal is halved, rounding up. If it takes 6 damage from a las cannon hit to the face, that 6 damage becomes 3 damage. Or you can do other things, such as give your Warlord a 2-up save, basically give them Artificer armor, and once per game they have a 3-up invulnerable save, a nice standard, and then lots of different weapons here. The Teeth of Terror, the Primarch's Wrath, the Burning Blade. These are names that we're familiar with from previous editions. For example, replacing a sword to give you +2 strength, -5 AP and 1 damage. Or if you're using a bolt gun, strength 5 bolt gun with -1 and 2 damage. Or if you're using a chainsword, +1 strength, -2 AP, 2 damage. Different ways that you can use different weapons here. The Tome of Malkador allows you to bring an extra spell. He knows 1 additional psychic power. It doesn't mean that your librarians that can cast 2 can suddenly cast 3. It means they know 1 additional psychic power. And then we have relics that are specific to certain chapters, such as Salamanders and Iron Hands and Raven Guard. Salamanders one is quite tasty, +1 toughness. So if you're a Salamander captain in Gravis armor, which means you're toughness 5, you take the Salamander's mantle, suddenly you're toughness 6. And if you really want to do it, you could be toughness 6 with a +1 wound and ignoring wounds damage dealt to you on a 6-up save. You can really tank some of your warlords here. Axe of Medusa is a big axe for the Iron Hands. Raven's Fury is a jump pack that allows the Raven Guard to advance and charge in the same turn, and you can reroll charge. So moving forward, running forward and charging, and re-rolling your charge range. Mantle the Stormseer adds 1. This is White Scars that adds 1 when making psychic tests. Powerful Fist for Crimson Fists. Santic Halo gives you a 3-up invulnerable save, and you can deny the Witch as though you were a Psyker. So your Iron Halo, instead of a 4-up invulnerable save, becomes a 3-up invulnerable save. If you want a Storm Shield for free, get this one. Mind you, the Shield Eternal also gives you a Storm Shield for free, because you don't have to pay for it, remember. You can just give it to one of your dudes in your army. Actually, no, that's a lie. A model with a Storm Shield or Combat Shield replaces it with a Storm Shield. So you have to pay for the Combat Shield or Storm Shield to replace it for this. But over here, you automatically come with an Iron Halo, right? So this gives you a 3-up invulnerable save without paying for a Storm Shield. I think Storm Shields are 15 points on characters. Crusaders Helm increases the aura range to 9. And remember, Black Templars can reroll charges, and that aura becomes big. Or that's their chapter tactic. But the aura of your captain, the aura of your character will increase to 9 inches. So maybe reroll to hit rolls of 1, or if you put it on a lieutenant, reroll to wound rolls of 1. Increase to 9 inches. And the Spartian is a pistol for the Imperial Fists, because the Imperial Fist seems to have the raw end of the stick in this codex. Librarius Discipline. There are now 6 psychic powers that you can pick from. You don't have to roll for them, just pick the one you want. Few of the Ancients, quite nice. 3d6. Warp charge 7 though. 3d6. If you just roll a 3, that sucks, but it will go from 3 to 18 inches. Draw a line. Every unit it goes through suffers a mortal wound. Psychic Scourge is like the Grey Knight Discipline Purge Soul. Basically, you pick an enemy and you pass the test, you roll, add your leadership, they roll, add their leadership, and if you beat their roll plus and the leadership added together, then you can do D3 mortal wounds. If you equal it, you just do 1 mortal wound. It's a way of smiting someone, but it won't hit the closest thing. Remember, smite will hit the closest thing here, but there's a guy back there you want to hit. Then you do Psychic Scourge, because you can pick them, and it's an 18-inch range. Then we have Psychic Fortress. Until the start of your next Psychic phase, a unit will automatically pass morale tests. They'll also ignore mortal wounds on a 4-up. So you've dropped a unit in. You know it's going to get mullered. Then you charge, put Psychic Focus on them to prevent them from running away, or prevent you spending those 2 command points to pass your morale test anyway. Or you want to try and lock up some guy to make them fall back rather than you fall back. Psychic Fortress. So those are the 3 new ones. Scourge, Fury of the Ancients, Psychic Fortress. We've got some new tactical objectives. And then we're on to all the points values. I had a skim through the points values, but come on, look at it. As far as I can see, none of the points values have changed. There might be 1 or 2 tweaks in there that I'm not aware of, but as far as I'm aware, none of the points values have changed. However, going back here, a couple of things in the datasheets have changed. Crushing Charge on the Inceptor squad does a mortal wound for every model in the unit, not just for the whole unit. That was fact as well, that is in the fact, but it's here written down. And the Thunderfire Cannon shells have become -1 AP, strength 5. It was 0 before, now it's -1 with 1 damage. I have used a Thunderfire cannon twice, and then I stopped using it because it sucked, and now it's -1 AP. I will be tempted to use it again because 46 shooting stuff out of line of sight. Again, the points value of the Thunderfire cannon hasn't changed, but this is an example of one of the tweaks that you can see in this book, and there might be a couple more in here, but I haven't studied the data sheets too closely. At least I haven't studied the data sheets for the old models or the original models, but I've certainly had a look at the new models, the new hotness. Anyway, going back to the very start of the data sheets, it's broken down in the same way that it used to be in old codexes. So it starts off with the name characters. And this is how it used to go in the old characters. Name characters first. And they're all in here, just as they are in this book here, the Index Imperium one. And then it gets you to your captains and your librarians, and you've got a captain in Gravis armor. There are no different ways to load out the captain in Gravis armor. It's the same as this guy in here. He's basically this dude here, the one in the Dark Imperium box set. You can't load your captain in Gravis armor out differently unless you give him the Burning Blade or something like that from the Relics. That's the captain in Gravis armor. But there is the Primaris captain. You can load him out in one of two ways. And those are the two ways that are available when you buy this model here. Long story short, the new captains available from Games Workshop, the Primaris captains, do not have very many ways to load them up. They don't have, it doesn't suddenly say, you can pick loads and loads of things from the War Gear option. If you want to load up your captain and make him a special captain, then you need to go to an old school captain, because he can pick items from the pistols, combi weapons, or melee weapons list. This captain is your chocolate box captain. The new models from Games Workshop are not chocolate boxes. They come up. He only comes up with two different ways. He only comes up with the way he comes out. So less options for modifying your captains or your specific characters going forward, which is an interesting choice. I don't know whether they did it because of the plastic molds on these, or whether they did it because it's a game reason. They think maybe in game terms, people were overloading them and putting too many things on them and making them too cheeky. I doubt it's that. I think the model dictates the rules. I think Games Workshop have said that themselves. So this model is done a certain way, so he comes a certain way. And that's it. If you want a captain on a bike or a standard captain and you want to load him out in lots of different ways, then he has to be an old school captain, not one of the guys from the Ultima Founding. Librarians, chaplains, Primaris chaplains. This is the new one that will be coming in. The new Primaris chaplain. Essentially, he's got one more wound and one more attack, because chaplains have 4 wounds, 3 attacks. Primaris chaplain has 5 wounds and 4 attacks, so +1 wound, +1 attack. Instead of 4 and 3, it's 5 and 4. It does the same thing though. Litanies of Hate and Spiritual Leaders, all exactly the same. He does have his Rosarius for his 4-up and vulnerable save, but he does have a funky new pistol, a strength 5, -1 AP, 16-inch range pistol. It does come with a funky new pistol, power level 6, power level 5, so that'll give you some idea of the points value for him. Tech Marines, I like Tech Marines. The cheap HQ option, stay in the back, healing the Predators, because Predators rock. Guys, get a couple of Predators, they rock. Lieutenants, Primaris Lieutenants, and then the Tactical Squads, and then the Incessors. Right, Incessors in this book can get up to 10 models deep. So previously, in the Index Imperium, they came in units of 5. These guys can come in units of 10. And they also have some options. They can replace their bolt rifle with auto bolt rifles or Stalker bolt rifles. I like the look of Stalker bolt rifles. 36-inch range, strength 4, -2 AP. Sticking these guys in the back, holding down an objective and shooting Stalker pattern bolt rifles. I also like the look, excuse me, I also like the sound of Stalker pattern bolt rifles, because having played Space Marine the game, the sound it makes, bing, bing, that steel shell ricocheting a long way across the battlefield, it just sounded cool. And every time I fire a Stalker pattern bolt rifle, that noise will be resounding in my head. Strength 4 -2 AP is not insignificant. In a game where there is no 4-up cover save, there is no 5-up cover save, in a game where your armor value is modified up or down depending on cover, or depending on the AP of a weapon firing at you, having weapons with -1, -2, -3 AP is what wins you games. I like the Stalker. Let's go and have a look at the points of it. Okay, bolt rifles are free. The auto bolt rifle +1 point, Stalker is +2 points for that. So different ways of loading out your Incessors. Notice though that they don't come with specialist weapons or heavy weapons in the same way that a tactical squad can. You can't put flamers or las cannons or missile launchers or plasmas or melters in an Incessor squad. However, for every 5 guys you may take an auxiliary grenade launcher, and the auxiliary grenade launcher increases the range of grenades to 30 inches. So you can fire any grenade weapons they have to 30 inches. Remember, you can only chuck 1 grenade at a time, so there's no point in putting 2 auxiliary grenade launchers. That's the way I'm reading it right now. There's no point in putting 2 auxiliary grenade launchers in a squad of 10 unless you're going to combat squad them, because it still follows the grenade rule as far as I can tell. It just increases that range to 30 inches rather than the standard 6 inches. So long story short, not a lot of heavy weapons or specialist weapons, different types of bolt rifles and a grenade launcher in there. Scout Squad, Primaris, Crusader, Ancients, Honor Guard, Chapter Ancients, Apothecary. There's the Apothecary, and then you should have, where's the Primaris Apothecary? Here's the Primaris Apothecary. Again, +1, yeah, he's got +1 wound, the same number of attacks, and he's got that funky bolt pistol again, which is a strength 5 AP -1 bolt pistol, and a power rating of 4 instead of 3. But he does exactly the same thing that a standard Apothecary does, which allows you to heal dudes or stand a guy back up again on a 4-up. Reaver Squad and Aggressor Squad. So we've seen the Reavers leaked by Games Workshop. I've talked about Grapnel launchers. It allows you to outflank. Grav shoots allow you to deep strike in, and these guys have shock grenades. It comes with 5 Reavers or for 5 power points, so you can spend 10 power points to get 10 Reavers in, and they come with bolt carbines, heavy bolt pistols, frag grenades, crack grenades, and shock grenades as standard. They just come with these weapons. Bolt carbines are assault 2, and heavy bolt pistols are -1 bolt pistols, so strength 4, damage 1, and -1 AP. So they come with it standard, but shock grenades are nice. They're 6 inches in. 6 inches for a grenade, so if you do your grav shoot, you've got to be more than 9 inches away, right? So the deep strike them in, they're more than 9 inches away. You're not going to hit anyone with a shock grenade because it's 6 inches. You're going to need to move them up. So they deep strike in, you can't shock grenade people yet. You have to take a turn of firepower before you move up and shock grenade. Or you're going to have to get these guys out of a Rhino or Razorback in order to shock grenade. What I'm saying is you're not shock grenading anything in turn 1 unless there's some kind of shenanigans and combinations that I can't find yet. Shock grenades are going to happen in turn 2 or turn 3, and a unit that's hit by a shock grenade infantry unit cannot fire Overwatch. And they subtract what hit 1 to hit rolls made for the unit. So the idea of a Reaver Squad is they move up, and in turn 2, turn 3, they're shocking something, and then they're getting charged. And the Reavers can charge on their own. 2 attacks standard, 3 attacks on the Sarge, but you give them the combat blades. They don't come with combat blades, but you can swap out the bolt pistol somewhere. Yeah, may replace the bolt carbine with a combat knife. So you can swap out the bolt carbine, give them a combat knife, and they'll come with 3 attacks standard. So the Reavers can do your attacking all on their own. A unit of 10 of these guys will be knocking out 31 attacks if you give them the combat knives. But I think probably a better way to use them would be to shock the troops that you want to charge. Remember, it only affects troops, infantry, and then charge them with a really meaty unit, like a Dreadnought or an Imperial Knight or something. But that's what shock grenades do. Stop Overwatch, and that unit, even if it doesn't get charged, will be shooting back at -1 to hit. Ability to outflank. It's nice. Aggressor Squads. aggressor squads are here. Oh, Reavers are elites, by the way, which are interesting. I made a mistake earlier on saying that they were troops. They're not, they're elites. So we've got 3 new elites in this codex. The Dreadnought, the Aggressors, the Reavers, and then you've got the troops, which are the Incessors, and then the Heavies and the Fast, which are the Hellblasters and the Inceptors. Aggressors, they are terribly, terribly expensive, and they have Firestorm. The unit can fire twice if they remain stationary. They can fire twice. Now, these guys come with the 2 Assault 6 Auto Boltstorm Bolters, right? Come with 2 of them, and the Frag Storm Grenade Launcher. They're 18-inch range, but you can fire them twice if you stand still. Or you can swap them out, the bolt guns and the Frag Storm Launchers, for Flamestorm Gauntlets, which is our Assault 2 D6. 3 of these guys chucking out 4d6 heavy flamer shots, or flamer shots, normal flamer shots. And they can fire twice if they stand still. And they have a relentless advance. These models in this unit do not suffer any penalty to hit rolls for advancing and firing assault weapons. And their assault, and their assault, and their assault. These guys only have a movement of 5, but they're always running forward. They're always advancing, and they're always firing their assault weapons at normal ballistic skill 3. Now, what do? Let's look at these weapons. Strength 4, strength 4, strength 4. 0 AP, 1 damage. Your aggressors are horde killers. They look big, they look mean, but they are not, I repeat, not Centurion Devastators. Yes, you have Frag Storm Grenade Launchers, but they're 18-inch range, strength 4. They're mean in close combat, times 2 strength, minus 3 damage, D3 AP with their 2 attacks. They're mean in close combat, they can rip stuff open, but their weaponry is strength 4. Aggressors are not Centurion Devastators. They are lighter version of the Centurion Devastators, running forward up the table, and they're designed to kill hordes. If you normally play against Nids, or Guard, or Orcs, any horde-based army with a low armor save, you're going to want to get these. If your mates in your circle play mainly Orcs and Tyranids in particular, or Demons even, and they play lots and lots of little Gribblies, you're gonna want to get these. They are not tank killers, they are troop killers, light troop killers. Unless they get up and punch them in the face with their big gauntlets, then they're tank killers. But that's what they do. They come in squads of 3, and you can get them in up to squads of 6. Terminators, Cataphractii, Tartarus, Vanguard, Stone Guard, Venerable Dreadnoughts, Ironclad Dreadnoughts, Centurion Dreadnoughts, Redemptor Dreadnoughts. The Redemptor comes with 13 wounds, and all of its guns are heavy, so if you move, you're shooting on 4s, you're hitting on 4s. However, the big Onslaught Gatling cannon is 12 shots, and the little Gatling cannon is 6 shots. All strength 5, minus 1 AP and 1 damage. 24-inch range, 30-inch range. What I'm saying is, I've got it right here. If you give him the Gatling gun and the Gatling gun on his fist, that's 18 shots, strength 5, minus 1 damage. 18 shots. It's a lot of firepower going up the table. However, if you move, you're going to be hitting on 4s. And because he's got this degrading stat line, when he gets 4 to 6 wounds, if you move, you're going to be hitting on 5, and 1 to 3, if you move, you're going to be hitting on 6. But you can swap out that little Gatling cannon for a heavy flamer, heavy D6. It nerfs your range. It's still the same amount of damage, but you're going to be auto-hitting all the time. He's also got the Icarus rocket launcher, heavy D3, strength 7, minus 1. That's this bit on the top. So that's +1 to hit flyers, or things with the fly keyword. If you're shooting at stuff that's supersonic, you're going to be hitting on 3s, but non-supersonic stuff like Wave Serpents or Venoms or Jump Infantry, you're going to be hitting on 2s with that gun. Of course, you're going to be hitting on 3s if you move, because it's a heavy gun. So the Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought, I see this guy being a tough, powerful, stand at the back, fire base kind of dude. That seems to me the way to run him. You could charge him up the table, but you're going to be hitting on 4s with your guns. You've got the Macro Plasma Incinerator, heavy D6, strength 8, minus 4. Or you can supercharge it. Heavy D6, strength 9, -4, 2 damage. You're probably never going to supercharge it, but if you do decide to supercharge it, for every 1 you roll, this guy suffers a mortal wound. He doesn't get removed. Because previously with plasma stuff, as soon as you overcharge, it removes. It just does mortal wounds on him. So this, the Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought, with his plasma gun, might be the first model that I actually decide to overcharge, because overcharging is deadly. Particularly if you're re-rolling to hit rolls of 1. He stood at the back, there's a captain right next to him. You're overcharging, re-rolling to hit rolls of 1. You're probably not going to cost any mortal wounds on him. So yeah, he moves 8. He moves a bit quicker than your standard Dreadnought. 13 wounds. He's a tough bad boy, the Redemptor Dreadnought. But what's the best way to run him? Is it to stand back and to shoot lots and lots of firepower? Or is he going to charge up the table? I think I'm going to use him as a gun platform. I don't know. Don't know. Need 2 of them. Because they just look cool. Run them forward. Centurions, bike squads, assault squads, speeders, attack bikes, inceptors. So fast attack, jump infantry. They can come in units of 3 to 6 now. Previously only in units of 3. They have their assault bolters. We know what they do. And all models may replace their 2 assault bolters for 2 plasma exterminators, which are basically 18-inch range assault D3 plasma guns. So you're going to be doing 2 D3 shots per person for strength 7, AP -3, 1 damage plasma guns. Of course, it's more expensive to bring your plasma exterminators rather than your assault bolters. Much more expensive to bring your plasma guns, but you can bring them. But as I say, you have to swap every single one. So if you're bringing unit 6, they all have to have plasma exterminators, or they all have to have the assault bolters. And we know what inceptors do. These are the guys that drop in only a few inches away from your army and then shoot the crap out of them. Still a very, very high rate of firepower, still a high toughness. I think inceptors have a role in the new Space Marine armies. I think if you're building a Primaris only list, then you're going to want to get 3 or 4 or 5 units of these guys jumping around, because there's not very many things that can stay in reserve in a Primaris only list. I think these can. I mean, the tank can't. It'll be these or the Reavers staying in reserve, and that's it. Having that deep strike ability is cool. And those plasma bolters, where are they? These are the plasma exterminators. So you can have assault 3 shots with your assault bolters, or D3 shots. So 2 D3 shots a model, 18-inch range, and the same stats as a plasma gun. What's best? Okay, Devastator, Centurion, Devastators, Hellblasters. Hellblasters are these dudes here from the box set. They're a heavy support choice, but they come with different flavors of guns, and you can get them into bigger squads now. 1 Hellblaster Sergeant, 4 Hellblasters, but you can add 5 more Hellblasters, so they can come in squads of 10. You can give them different weapons. Either they come with this one, or you can swap your Plasma Incinerator with Assault Plasma Incinerators, or you can replace your Plasma Incinerators with Heavy Plasma Incinerators. 3 different flavors of plasma goodness. These are the heavy ones. So of course, if you move, you're going to be minusing 1 to hit because they're heavy. So look, the assault ones, strength 6 -4, assault 2 shots at 24 inches. So you can run forward and shoot twice at 24-inch range, but lower strength. Or you've got the standard flavor, the strength 7 -4, rapid fire, 30-inch range. Or you've got the heavy flavor, which is even longer range. So you've got 24, 30 or 36-inch range. Each of these 6 inches further, and a strength 6, strength 7 or strength 8 flavor. Personally, I like the standard rapid fire 30-inch range gun. It's the cheapest version of all the guns, and if you're moving with the heavy one, it's -1 to hit. If you're running forward with the assault one, it's -1 strength, and It's -1 to hit, -1 strength because it's strength 6. Mind you, you could put a squad of the heavy plasma incinerators at strength 8, -4. A squad of 5 of these at the back with strength 8, -4, and use them as devastators. You could do that. That's interesting. Okay, maybe I won't just take the standard version. Maybe I will get a squad of the heavy ones. Imagine 10 of these guys in the back, 36-inch range, strength 8, -4. Mind you, 10 of these guys will be stupid expensive. That'd be a quarter of your army right there. Thunderfire, Hunters, Stalkers, Vindicators, Whirlwinds, Predators, Land Raiders, Land Raider Crusader, Land Raider Redeemer, Rhinos. Now we're on to the dedicated transports. We know all of these, but we don't know the Repulsor. And look at this data sheet. It's got a lot of shizzle. It's 16 wounds just like a Land Raider, but it's got a 3-up save unlike a Land Raider. It's a little bit cheaper than a Land Raider, but it can fly. And with the Repulsor field, opponents subtract 2 from any charge rolls when they declare a charge against the Repulsor. So it's -2 when you're charging it. It's got Power of the Machine Spirit, so it can move and fire all its guns, just like a Land Raider. And it's got auto launchers, which work exactly the same as smoke launchers. Basically, instead of shooting your weapons, you can fire your auto launchers, and it's -1 to hit if you're shooting at it. It works the same as smoke launchers. So it can fly. That's the kicker. Fly, keyword. The Repulsor, if it gets hit in close combat, can reverse and still shoot. A Land Raider gets hit in close combat and it pulls back, it can't shoot. This guy can shoot. Not as quick as I expected it to be, a movement of 10. Land Raiders move 10. I thought it would be 12 or 14 because it can fly, because it can hover. I thought maybe it would go a bit further, but it doesn't. It's basically the same speed, not as resilient as a Land Raider, a bit cheaper, but oh my. It's got lots and lots of guns. And when we look at the different options here, it can switch its twin heavy bolter for a las cannon. It can replace its heavy onslaught Gatling cannon with a las cannon. It can replace its iron hell heavy stubber with an onslaught Gatling cannon. I'm not going to run through it all because there's far too many things to run through, and I've got no idea what the best loadout would be. But long story short, it's got a lot of gun. And it can fly. Did I mention the fly thing? It can also transport 10 models, and it can transport Primaris infantry models. Gravis pattern armor, and takes up 2 spaces of the 10, and it can't transport jump infantry. We know that our Primaris Space Marines can't go in Rhinos and drop pods and Razorbacks and Land Raiders. If you want to put them in a vehicle, the only way to do it at the moment is the Repulsor. The Repulsor looks cool. Floating Land Raider. Lots and lots of different guns. No idea. I mean, the heavy onslaught cannon. Heavy 12, strength 5. That's the same as this gun on the Dreadnought. 12-shot flamer, essentially. Strength 5, -1 damage. That's what that does. -1 AP, 1 damage. But you can replace that with a las talon. Wouldn't you replace it with a las talon? A las talon, strength 9. A las talon is a 2-shot, 24-inch range las cannon. Wouldn't you just replace it with that? I probably would. Anyway, Repulsors. Flying tank, like a Land Raider. Lots and lots of guns. How good are they? Don't know. Really don't know without seeing them on the table. They look cool. Again, if you're building a Primaris-only Space Marine army, there's nothing wrong with getting 3 of these puppies and a couple of these puppies, using these as fire support along with the Hell Blasters in the backfield. So 2 of these as fire support in the backfield, with a Hell Blaster squad, with these guys in the backfield, and that can be your long range support. And if any guys are coming back into your long range support, then you've got some Dreadnoughts that can punch them in the face. And then having 3 Repulsors making their way up the table, packed full of goodness, ready to bring pain, with some Inceptors jumping in the backfield as well. There's a viable army Games Workshop has given us straight away with this codex. Add on your stratagems, add on your command points, add on your new relics and your chapter tactics. there's a very viable army we can bring straight away. And that's it, finishing off the book. We went back here already. That's my overview of this book. Okay, that's my review of Codex Space Marines from Games Workshop. The first of the new codexes that they're going to release. They said there's going to be 12 before Christmas, so if you do the maths, that's a codex every 2 weeks. So yeah, it's good. Chapter of Tactics are back, Relics are back, more librarian psychic powers in here, more stratagems that you can use, a shed load of stratagems you can use. And most importantly for me, the flavour, the feel of the Space Marines is back again. I'm very pleased by this book, this weighty tome in front of me here. Anyway, I've done enough talking now. My throat is parched. I need a cup of tea. Thanks for watching. Happy wargaming.